Folks, think about all the major coaching moves in college football over the past few years, specifically in the last offseason. Think about every time there's a major job that's open, whether that was Notre Dame, USC, LSU, Oklahoma, and think about the list of candidates that the media and others, commentators, analysts, the media, typically go to. There's a set list, and then there are tweaks made to that list of candidates based on the conference, based on the ties to that school, and other factors, style of offense, style of defense, brand image. But there's typically been a consensus thought process, consensus view of who the candidates, the top candidates for any of the major jobs in college football would be. And how many times has that list of candidates produced the coach that received the job? The answer is rarely, maybe never. Over the last few years, we have been blown away by the moves in college football. We've been blown away by the names and the individuals who have ultimately been targeted by said school to receive a big job. And now we've got a possible latest. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. We appreciate all of you being here. And this is one of the big reasons why you subscribe to the channels and also why you hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live, because anytime there is major breaking news, if at all possible, and that's about 98% of the time that we can go live, we're going to go live. Down through the years, Mark Rex steps down at Miami, Willie Taggart out at Florida State, Mark D'Antonio at Michigan State, the Marcus Freeman, Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly offseason last season. We were here, and we will always be here as much as possible with any type of breaking news. Now, this is not breaking news. This is being reported. Get set for this if you haven't heard it, that Deion Sanders will be the next head coach at the University of Nebraska. Deion Sanders at Nebraska. Deion Sanders, of course, one of the great defensive backs in the history of the NFL and college football. Deion Sanders, who's doing a heck of a job at Jackson State. And so this is being reported, not by me. This is being reported by Zach Smith, who we have on the channel frequently. Zach Smith, former Florida and Ohio State assistant coach of Menace to Sports. Zach Smith, on his Menace to Society podcast, had a special broadcast, apparently. I've not heard the broadcast. I have not heard the podcast. I am only going by the reports that I see that are all over the place. So this is obviously true that this happened. The former Ohio State wide receivers coach Zach Smith popped off with a very special broadcast where he told the internet that the Jackson State head coach, Deion Sanders, has not just been targeted. He's not just on the list. He's been offered the job and accepted it. Even more than that, he's already started to fill out his staff, and apparently that's where Zach Smith got his prompt, was that one of his friends in the coaching business has been contacted by Deion Sanders to be part of his staff. All right, we're going to take your calls here at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate all of you being here. And again, I have reached out to Zach Smith, and I'm sure that he's being flooded with contacts right now. But I've reached out to him and to see if he'll be on at some point soon. So we'll take your comments, of course, and your questions and your calls here at the Voice of College Football on the Nebraska coaching search and Deion Sanders rumored to Nebraska. Charles, what's going on today?
Dude, I'm sober. But no, I mean, like, is this a real thing or?
Well, this is what we know. We know that Zach Smith has coaching contacts. Obviously, he's been in the business at high levels, and he has stated, according to these reports, so I didn't hear it firsthand, but there's enough reports out there on reputable sites that are quoting from the podcast that he has friends, or at least one friend in the coaching business, who has been contacted by Deion Sanders to be added to his staff at Nebraska.
Is his son going to go there?
His son?
Yeah, the quarterback.
I don't know.
But no, I remember when last time that Michigan won the national championship, it was disputed between Nebraska and like U of M. But no, I would like to see a good competition between the East and the West. And so I've heard from some of my friends that we're not going to have divisions anymore. How does that work?
Well, it's going to
There
work
won't be an
the
East and a
way
West.
that it would work in the Pac-12, and that's not official. Unless somebody's going to correct me on this, that's not official that the Big Ten will not have division. But for example, going into this season, the Pac-12 announced just a few months before the season started that they would not have divisions this year. And so simply the top two teams in the conference play in the conference championship game.
All right. Yeah, I'm still kind of screwed up about I hope someday they change the Ohio State Michigan, and I know that you know that I'm a Michigan fan, but I hope they change it sometimes to the middle of the season rather than the last game of the year, you know what I mean?
Well, I would not want that, but you understand the reasoning. They don't want them playing back-to-back weeks.
Right. No, I'm just saying like if we lose that game, we can't recover. And we'll go to the Rose Bowl, and it'll be nice for all the kids and fans. I've been to the Rose Bowl in 2004 when Texas beat us with that last second field goal.
Yep.
And Larry Foote like almost blocked a field goal. But I just don't see. And did you see in the Ann Arbor News yesterday that
No.
the U of M athletic department contacted an architecture firm to redo the tunnel? Have you ever? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I didn't hear that. I didn't know of that. It doesn't surprise me.
It's going to cost $1.3 million.
I wish that organizations would make strong, solid, sound decisions and not cave into public scrutiny. And that's probably what they've done. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I don't just to widen the tunnel. That's what they're doing. Widening the tunnel.
So I've been in that tunnel 1,000 times. I don't know if you know this. I used to work for Huron Valley Ambulance in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I used to take all the injured players off the field.
Okay.
I was the Gator guy. But no, I mean, and then I became a nurse at U of M ER. And then I got COVID and I got my leg chopped off, and this is where I am right now. But no, I've been up that and down. So if you go into that tunnel, it's like 60 feet wide. So they can easily divide it. If you go right into the tunnel to the left, you have where the cheerleaders and the dance team gets ready.
Yep.
You go up like another half, and there's a media room. And you go up another half, you're at the top of the tunnel. To the left is the visitor locker room. To the right is the Michigan locker room. I've been in the Michigan locker room probably 60, 70 times. But yes, they can easily divide that. And that's what I saw in the, I mean, you can look it up. It was in the Ann Arbor News yesterday, and they consulted a architect firm. They said it was going to cost $1.3 million, which I don't know if U of M can afford that.
That's a drop in the bucket. That's significant money, of course, but it's a drop in the bucket. Well, Charles, we appreciate you being here. Call back anytime, but we're here to talk about Deion Sanders to Nebraska first and foremost. So,
oh yeah,
I
dude,
appreciate it.
Did he go to Michigan State?
Did Deion Sanders go to Michigan State?
Yeah.
As a player, he went to Florida State.
Oh,
he is a Florida.
He did baseball too, right?
Played some baseball. Yes, played in the World Series.
Nice. All right. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Charles. Appreciate it. All right, let's keep it moving here at the Voice of College Football. And again, our purpose was to come on here live and respond to the report by Zach Smith of Menace to Society, Menace to Sports. He always tells me Menace to Sports Society, whatever it is, podcast, that Deion Sanders has reached out to coaching candidates for his coaching staff to build a coaching staff to go to Nebraska. We got our buddy Corey Brada here. Corey, how are you? Hello, Corey. Can you hear me? Hello, Corey.
Can you hear me, Mark? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
Sorry about that. So, a couple things. I want to address an elephant in the room here in a second. But this is a compliment to you, first of all. I want to let you know that I in no way listen to any live streams but yours. Okay? There's not a single live stream in any format on YouTube that I consume except yours. All right?
That's pretty nice of you.
You need to understand that, first of all. All right. That's the first thing. Second thing is, as it relates to this report, and I had not heard it until I saw you were going live, and I think it's fascinating. His name had obviously been tossed around when that job came open, but his name's going to be tossed around to a lot of jobs just because of who he is, at the level he's coaching at right now, his name, his pedigree, all that stuff, obviously. He's embraced NIL, his ability to bring in some major recruits. I mean, high major recruits, of course. I think in large part due to who he is and NIL. But my question, this is the elephant in the room that I want to ask you, and maybe you've addressed this on the air. You're an Ohio State guy, okay? I am in no way going to claim to be an expert on Zach Smith. But the controversy with Zach Smith that led to his no longer being on the Ohio State coaching staff. I understand you've had him on your show, and you and I have, for the record, you and I have never talked about this off the air. So this is completely authentic, me bringing this up from an Ohio State perspective. And from what you know about Zach Smith, how do you view the allegations and everything that happened while he was on the coaching staff with Urban Meyer at Ohio State?
So how I would have responded at the time would have been more from an educated standpoint, because my memory tends to wane over time, and that's been close to 10 years ago. So yeah, that is, and I've made this statement a few times on this show, to say that I have had an internal struggle about having him on my show. So I would like to make it clear to everyone that I don't have to agree with everyone or have everyone that appears on my show to meet some kind of moral standard. And I'm certainly not going to be investigating anyone or researching their past. But if it's already been researched and investigated for us to know something about that individual, then there are certain moral and behavioral standards that I live by and would want to support those people that are moral people of integrity to have on my show. There's also a place for forgiveness if that person, in fact, has come clean of whatever issues that they've had that have either been alleged or been proven. So with him in particular, as I understand it, and I did go through this maybe a year to 2 years ago at a point in which it was actually suggested to me and recommended to me, and somebody who is a viewer of our show and also Zach's show brought us together. I did not reach out to Zach Smith. This person really wanted us to collaborate. And so I went back and looked through some things, and what I became familiar with again was basically that nothing was proven in regards to guilt of him abusing his wife at the time. What was proven was that he violated his I'm losing track of the term of the conditions in which he needed
restraining order.
His restraining order. Thank you. The restraining order was not adhered to, and that was really the end of their involvement, or the end of that situation.
Okay, now just quick. I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong on something, but the news initially was broke by Brett McMurphy, I believe, that his wife had filed this domestic violence protection against him back in 2018. I thought you said it was 10 years ago. 10
years ago.
Some of the allegations were from 10 years ago.
That it traced back that far.
Sure. Okay. All right. I follow you. So I think you and I both would agree that there, regardless, first of all, I think you and I are both on the same page that someone who's innocent, that is accused of whatever degree of crime, I think you and I would probably both agree that there should, a person who makes false allegations should be held accountable for that as well, to
Sure.
an extremely high degree. And if that's the case here, then Courtney Smith or whoever, created the false narratives, that then they should be held accountable. We don't. You and I are both saying we don't know, and I really did not follow the outworkings of that case, and I don't even know. You're telling me that he was found not guilty on all domestic charges, and that he was only found guilty of breaking a no contact order?
I don't know that he was found not guilty. I believe that it was dismissed. And again, anything that I'm citing right now, I'm going by memory. So nobody hold me to anything that I'm trying to recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, and again, I'm not. I'm just asking this for because I understand you've had him on the show. You're an Ohio State guy, and rather than trying to Google things and find a number of reports on a various number of subjects, I trust your take on the situation. And the reason I think it's relevant to this conversation is because, like a number of crimes, when a person is guilty of a crime at some point in their life, they are often forever, I don't want to use the word canceled, because I'm not using that. That's a term that's become political, but you understand what I'm saying. People are thrown in the garbage as far as credibility for the rest of their lives. I'm not saying that's right. That tends to be, you associate a person, especially a celebrity, with a scandal, so to speak, or an arrest. I mean, you think of O.J. Simpson, what's the first thing you think of? You think about his NFL career, which was unbelievable, or do you think about, O.J. Simpson? So I'm not saying that you can equate what Zach Smith may or may not have done to O.J. Simpson, but my point is, I think that's where people's mind, just scrolling through Twitter, when I saw you were live on this Zach Smith report, I think that's where people's minds, anything that he says, there's automatically going to be a large faction of people that say, who the heck cares what Zach Smith says? He's not a credible source. And it doesn't help his case. He tweeted out, I mean, the original tweet, Mark, again, maybe there's substance to this. The original tweet was breaking rumor in all caps. So Zach made a point of tweeting out, not breaking news, breaking rumor. So how is it a breaking rumor if he's reporting it?
Well, Corey, there is a difference between being a good person who does the right things and being a reputable source. Those aren't necessarily the same thing.
But can we agree that if he lied flat out about what happened between, with these domestic allegations, if he lied, you lose credibility on the fact that you have a history of lying?
Yes. But at the same time, some people are able to separate their personal issues and their personal credibility with their professional credibility. Jose Canseco comes to mind. Jose Canseco did all sorts of things that were, against Major League Baseball rules, and some that were illegal. Then he wrote a book and everyone laughed at the guy and everything turned out to be true. So my take on this is I don't have the contacts, and more than that, I don't have the resources as one person running the operation that I do to confirm or verify or have my own sources or contacts that are at that level to be able to break a story like this. And we both know that there are rumor chasers on YouTube and online every day chasing all sorts of crazy coaching rumors, expansion rumors, realignment rumors, all sorts of rumors concerning all sorts of topics in college football. And I don't do that.
Wait, you're telling me that there are actually YouTubers out there that run their entire YouTube channel based on rumors that have no substance and no leg, Mark? Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I've seen, and that's what I understand. Yes, for entertainment purposes only, possibly. So my thought here was, okay, I'm seeing this from Zach Smith, and now I'm seeing it reported, not reported that it's true, reported that Zach Smith has stated it on his podcast on a number of sites that aren't even connected to Nebraska football. One of the top Ohio State sites was reporting it. Obviously, there's an Ohio State connection there. And so I thought, well, I've had probably 4 or 5 Nebraska fans in the last few weeks want me to address the various coaches, run through their profiles, run through their backgrounds and resumes and rank them, discuss them. And so I've been looking for this opportunity anyway, just as a broader topic. And then this seemed like a good way to kick it off to, I can't add anything to this story except for to reiterate what's been reported from his report, that he is a friend who's a coach who's been contacted by Deion Sanders to be on his staff at Nebraska. And really, that's all we have to this point. But obviously, then we can further the conversation to talk about Deion Sanders and whether he would be a good fit at Nebraska, what he brings to the table, what other coaches are out there, and what candidates, and make it about the Nebraska head coaching search.
And for the record, I want to make it clear, I'm not criticizing you for being on the air to address this topic, and I'm not. I hope I'm not giving you the impression, Mark, that I am. Everything has got to be, you've got to be choosing sides in this world. I'm not, that's not what I'm at, because I don't know what happened with Zach Smith's history. And I know some people would say, yeah, we should never talk about Zach Smith again because of what you think he did. And there are some people who would say, why are we still bringing this up 5 years later? So I am not on either side. I'm just simply bringing it up because you've had conversations with him. And I've seen criticism of him now. I mean, this is not just me making this. Mark, that there are people that will never get past that, and that's their prerogative. I can't say they're right or wrong, but that's just how they operate.
Well, I can't say that I'm completely past it myself because I don't know the complete truth. But again, right, based on memory, I don't believe that he was either. It was proven guilty or not guilty. I thought it was dismissed. But again, that can all be searched within seconds and verified. And then just in regards to, his appearance and anybody else's appearance on my show, I know that I have found out through other people that he conducts himself much differently when he's speaking with me and he's on my channel than he does on his own show. And I would be completely blind to that because I don't listen to his show. That's not because he's not good at what he does. It's just because, much like you, I don't have much time to survey other people's podcasts and channels. But I hear that all over the place, that there are a lot of people that come on my show that, and I take it as a respect to me and what we do here, that just take on a very different approach in terms of language and so forth when they come on here versus what they do on their own platform.
I find it hilarious the people who are in the chat that are ticked off that I even brought this up, and the comment that it's irrelevant to the conversation. The purpose of this live stream, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, is to talk about a report from Zach Smith. So his credibility and his history isn't irrelevant. I don't agree with that at all. But anyways, if you just want to talk about the hire and the potential for that being a hire, I do find it intriguing, not just because of his history with NIL and what he's done at Jackson State, but also how does he fit into the Nebraska demographic? Like,
Yeah.
do you feel like that's kind of unusual, kind of an unusual fit from that perspective? I mean, a Florida State guy. I mean,
or are we speaking to both geography and race, or just geography?
Just everything.
Okay.
I mean, would you agree? I mean, it doesn't anything to do with race necessarily. I just think it's just flat out. It's just an interesting fit if this happens.
And that's one of the main reasons we are here is that it's the Nebraska job. It's the Nebraska head coaching job. And regardless of the lack of success there over the past 5 to 10 years, it's still a substantial brand in college football. And I run a channel that's a Nebraska channel, and it has tremendous support. And I want to serve those people there. And again, it's been requested of me to do this. And then number 2, it's Deion Sanders. So we're also on the main channel because I thought, you know what? It's Deion Sanders. We're going to put this on the main channel as well. Deion Sanders is an all-time great. Plus, he has a personality that I'm not going to say that it's polarizing. It's attractive to some. It's annoying to others. Regardless, he has a personality. But thirdly, this hit me similar to the way it seems to have hit you, that this just doesn't seem like a fit for Midwest America, Nebraska cornfields. It just seems like an odd pairing. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've said, because I've had Iowa fans say, well, who would you want after Kirk Ferentz? And I have had people say Deion Sanders. I have nothing against Deion Sanders. First of all, he'd have to he has to prove it at a different level. To me, that is a risky hire if you're Nebraska. Now, I could be wrong. Perhaps this era of the transfer portal and NIL can help an administration overlook some of the risks with going with a guy who has a name based on who he was as a player and has done good things at Jackson State, albeit at a completely different level, and solid things on the recruiting trail. I think that's a risky hire unless you believe that NIL and the transfer portal make up for it.
Well, I will state, I will never go out of bounds in regards to what I don't believe that I have full knowledge of or a great perspective on. And one of those things would be running a program, let's say at the likes of Louisiana versus running a program at Jackson State. So I'm pointing to the Billy Napier hire from Louisiana, let's say, going to the University of Florida, a top 15 program. And so we've seen that recently, and other hires like it when there are coaching vacancies. Jamie Chadwell's name from Coastal Carolina comes up on a regular basis. And I know that I'm stretching it a bit because those guys have long histories of coaching as assistant coaches and so forth. Deion Sanders just came out of nowhere as a TV guy, as a former player, and became the head coach at Jackson State. And I don't think either one of us know what kind of support he's getting there in regards to organizing and running a football program. I don't know.
Well, I got your listeners, some of your listeners riled up now, Mark. So for the record, I think Deion Sanders would probably be a really good coach. I just think there's probably safer hires out there. And Nebraska, in my mind, needs a safe hire. I mean, I obviously, who knows if Urban Meyer would be interested in that job. He'd probably be the safest from a football standpoint, but risky with other stuff. That would be my take. I think he's a risky hire, but he's certainly an intriguing one, and he's going to be somewhere else. I don't see him sticking it out at Jackson State. As I've said to you before, my belief system on guys like PJ Fleck and James Franklin, guys who are always in these head coaching vacancy conversations, they're putting themselves out there for a reason. So maybe Deion's not doing that just because of who he is, and he's flashy and he's Deion Sanders, and that's why he gets brought up. But my guess is that he wants to be brought up in these conversations. And is Zach Smith legitimate in saying this? Who knows? For the record, I don't trust Zach Smith, not because of what he may or may not have done in his personal life. I don't trust Zach Smith on this because he literally said breaking rumor. And if you're going to report something like this, you better stand behind it. Like, if it's news, it's news. Don't say breaking rumor and expect people to believe you. I guess people are believing him, but to me, that doesn't make any sense.
All right, Corey, anything else?
That is it, sir. Appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, we will see you on the post-game show. So for anyone who doesn't know, didn't recognize the voice possibly, since we typically see him, Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. So everyone who wants more Iowa Hawkeyes content, both football and basketball, as well as Big Ten, check out Corey's work From the Hawkeye of the Storm. We do a Tuesday show right here on our Iowa channel. And Corey provides post-game with Coach Don Patterson after every Hawkeyes game on his channel From the Hawkeye of the Storm, and simulcasted here on our Iowa Voice of College Football channel. Good to hear from you, Corey. Have a great weekend.
Have a good rest of your afternoon, Mark.
Thanks, Corey. All right. So what I appreciate about that is the conversation in regards to just being open about various aspects of this report, not just the report itself, but of course the messenger. And again, what I did was I was having a quiet afternoon, not doing too much work. And I did jump online because I had several things to send out, tweet out, post on the channel. You'll see on the various channels that we posted that our guy Steve Merrill from Wager Talk is 9-1 against the spread. And you can join us on Patreon. Just search MarkRogersTV there, and other things that I was posting and looking up. And then bam, I get hit with Deion Sanders to Nebraska. So the initial 3 or 4 reads on that topic, once I went Deion Sanders to Nebraska and did a Google search, I didn't even see anything about Zach Smith. I saw all just Deion Sanders to Nebraska rumors or reports. I saw both terms. And then after a quick glance at a couple articles, I saw, okay. And then I looked into it to see, okay, why is he reporting this? Okay, he's got a coaching buddy who's apparently been contacted by Deion Sanders. And so I thought, you know what? It's been requested of me to talk about the Nebraska coaching search a number of times. So I thought this would be a prime opportunity, pardon the pun, a prime time opportunity to open up that conversation. We got TriStar on the line. TriStar, how you doing?
Good. I was wondering, how much truth do you think is behind this Deion Sanders rumor?
Well, I can only speak for myself, and I would only report something like this if I was close to 100% sure that it was correct. Because if you guys watched me on a regular basis, and let's say I was the guy that reported this kind of stuff, according to Mark Rogers on the Voice of College Football, Mark says Deion Sanders is going to be the next head coach in Nebraska. And then Nebraska went and hired Matt Rule. And then 3 months later, during the offseason, I throw out 3 or 4 other reports, and they prove to be untrue. Well, you can do that once or twice because every reputable reporter, from what I know, that breaks this kind of news has missed it because things have changed. Or they've relied on their sources that have been reliable in the past, but they've missed it because some deals have broken down. Everybody wants to be first. But if you're going to miss and miss and miss, then you're no longer reputable. So anytime you throw that out there, again, I can't speak for Zach Smith. I'll speak for myself. I would be careful, and you wouldn't hear anything like that out of me until, unless I had a track record of throwing out 100 such reports and they were all delivered and became the truth. That if I missed one out of every 50, then that's the way it goes. So again, I can't speak for Zach Smith, but I would think based on if he has any his career, then he's not going to just throw things. Okay, and start.
So you don't.
We really can't hear you. So maybe if you can get to a quiet room and give us a call. Thanks for calling. All right, we got Sean on the line. Hopefully, Sean's in a quiet room that we can hear him. Sean, what's going on today?
I do have some cats that occasionally like to spar with each other, but other than that,
they don't raise too much of a ruckus. They're not too loud.
Yeah, you haven't met my cats.
Okay.
Okay, but no, this just interesting. Not normally able to catch a lot of these midday streams, but fortunate I could catch this news. I've just been kind of trying to get a little caught up on this story from through social media and stuff. So how likely is this, do you think, that this is actually going to happen? Like, are they in the final? Are they finalizing anything now, or like where is this rumor really? How does it stand?
Okay, so you don't know where this started or where this was reported? Did you miss that part of it?
No.
Okay.
I have not. I missed the very, very beginning, and all I know is that there is some reporting that I've see some that say DEION is likely to be the next coach.
Well, basically, when you talk about there's been reporting.
No, I mean just some posting and stuff while I'm.
So until I hear anything further, basically, what we are seeing is all these reports. Like if you Google it and you see 17 reports, well, they're all just reporting what originally came from Zach Smith.
Yes.
So it's not like they're finding out anything on their own. They are simply reporting a rumor / report, whatever you want to call it. It's been called both. So 11 Warriors, an Ohio State site, says Zach Smith says, quote, DEION Sanders has been offered and has verbally accepted the Nebraska job, end quote. So that's close.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a surprise to me, for sure. It's I mean, Nebraska, I think, probably wanted to try something very much outside the box rather than, I guess, going with, I mean, Matt Rule, Matt Campbell, those kind of coaches, they seem kind of like a lot of what they've done in the past, both of them, and they've not really had culturally, I don't know. This is an odd fit to me, because I've never thought of Nebraska as a flashy program in any way whatsoever. And DEION just oozes charisma and flash. And I think a school like Nebraska, it limits a little bit of how he can sell I would think he would want to sell a program.
Well, former Nebraska does. I don't know if current or future Nebraska would limit him. Limit him in what way? We don't know.
Well, I
totally get your take, Sean, because I have the same take. It doesn't seem like a cultural fit, for lack of a better term. It doesn't seem like a fit because of Midwest, roll your sleeves up, conservative.
And I want to clear, like, I'm not implying any sort of racial connotations in this whatsoever. I think there are plenty of strong. Mel Tucker, for instance, I think would be an excellent cultural fit at Nebraska. It's just he's a Southerner. He's loud. He can be aggressive and his personality can be pretty aggressive, pretty obnoxious. And I mean, that is not that is the antithesis of everything I know about Nebraska fans.
Who was the greatest quarterback? Let me back up. Who is the greatest head coach in the history of Nebraska football? It is Tom Osborne. And
yes.
if anybody is more or less stoic and measured and buttoned up, then it's Tom Osborne. And who was the last head coach at Nebraska? Well, it was a product of Tom Osborne. It was his starting quarterback for his last national championship. It was Scott Frost. So they would be completely breaking away from that. Now, I find it interesting. Now, I've not gotten to the heart of this, but Adam Carricker, he is a former Nebraska Cornhusker.
Great one.
In the NFL. He is also reporting, but I believe he has a paywall, which is prohibiting me from going further. But he posted something, or no, it must be a video. Anyway, he posted, most of this is coming out. I don't know when the Zach Smith comment was made, but all these posts have come out in the last couple hours, except for Adam Carricker. This was released November 9th. That was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days ago. And he titles this, "Is it the prime time to consider Deion Sanders at Nebraska?" And basically he posted this. And again, this is a video that's 12 minutes long, so people can check it out. Obviously, I'm not going to check it out while we're on the air here. But so I don't know if if it's similar to Zach Smith, where he has a connection and he's playing off the connection, or he's just kind of grabbing names out of the air and saying, how would this work? Deion Sanders at Nebraska, and it just by coincidence was posted a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. The credentials that he has, I mean, he's got an odd resume. Obviously, like he completely turned around that Jackson State program, doing it in a very unconventional way and in a way that I don't know can really translate to big time football. I mean, you can't just go out and get players that are several levels above the competition that they're playing against. At Jackson State, he's got, a few 4 and 5 stars that are going up against 0 stars on a weekly basis. And I mean, like, if you get that kind of talent, you should have a lot of success on the field. I mean, if you have that big of a gap, you're not going to be able to do that at Nebraska. You're not going to be able to do that at any level in college football. I'm not exactly sure. I don't mean to disparage him. I'm not really sure he can really coach right now. He hasn't really proven that. I mean, he can bring a lot of sizzle to a program. He can recruit. He knows how to speak to the younger generation for sure. But I mean, is there any evidence that he can really build and sustain and lead a program in the long term when you can't just go out and buy significantly better talent?
Well, the evidence is what he has done thus far. So that's the evidence. Is it proven? Well, this is his 3rd season. That doesn't prove anything to me, but he's on his way to proving it. And I am no expert on it. The level of historically black colleges, and unless we want to go to Eddie Robinson and Grambling, I don't keep up with it to know. But he went 11-2 last year after a 4-3 COVID year, and he's 8-0 this year. His record's 23-5, so obviously he's tearing it up. And I don't know what they were before that. But to your point, that doesn't mean that he's a great coach, as an X's and O's coach. But the results are the results. So just like I made the comment to our last caller, Corey, I said, or to one of the callers, we don't know how much help he's receiving. So he's making a large leap. Well, other guys have made large leaps, but they've been head coaches, they've been assistant coaches, they have a coaching resume of 10, 15, 20 years of being an assistant, being a coordinator, all those things. He just jumped from television to being a head coach. So I don't know how much he is actually running and organizing that program. I don't know. I don't want to disparage him or jump to conclusions that he's not truly running the program, but it calls it into question as to whether he is or not.
Yes. I say the gold standard for making the 1AA or FCS to Power 5 coaching transition is for sure Jim Tressel, right?
Yes.
Like he's the gold standard. And the situations couldn't be more different. I mean,
Yeah.
Tressel was the ultimate cultural fit to Ohio State. He was at Youngstown State for, I believe, like 14 years, had won several national championships. And he was, you were very much felt a sense that he was the man in control. He was the person that was responsible for that program, and that the way he ran his program could sustain that jump up in competition. And there's just a lot more questions with DEION about that than there are. I mean, someone's going to give him a big head. Someone's going to take a chance on him for sure at a big level. And it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. This to me seems like one of the more bizarre fits.
Yeah, it seems like a bizarre fit. And I would also think that school that would take him on would hire not just a really good offensive and defensive coordinator, but guys that have head coaching experience themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing I find, like when we say the fits are wrong and stuff, if he gets in there and coaches and can prove he can, like good coaches can coach and they can coach anywhere. I mostly believe that. But the problem is that when things go maybe a little bit wrong, you know, they have a 5-7 season somewhere in there. You know, how is he able to communicate with the boosters and with the fans? I mean, big time college football is way, way different. I mean, there's way more politics involved with coaching at the highest level. And if he's a fish out of water, you know, talking to the boosters and the alumni, I mean, I think that's where a lot of these relationships kind of fall apart. That's where a lot of these, you know, the Dan Mullen at Florida, for instance, you know, like that. I mean, like he can coach football, but you know, when it came to the other softer skill parts of the job, he was a total failure. He was a total bust, and the program fell apart because he couldn't do the things outside of, you know, of the weekly practices and all that stuff. So I don't know. I'll be interested. I really do want to see this happen because I just think it'll be a really fun experiment. It'll be, and I saw. Have you seen the 60 Minutes piece on DEION?
I did not. No.
There was 60 Minutes ran a feature on him probably not very long ago, like less than 2 months ago, I would say. And he's a very likable, very inspiration. I mean, it was a very nice story. I would suggest that you might go watch that. He's a super unconventional guy. He marches to the beat of his own drummer, and I pull for guys like that. So I hope he gets to Nebraska, and I hope he can raise them to the level. I think it'll be great for college football. I have reasons to be skeptical. I'm not 100% sold it's going to work, but I'm really pulling for it to work if it does happen.
All right, Sean. Appreciate you being here. Anything else?
No. Have
Thanks,
a good
Sean.
one. Take care.
You know, when it comes to Deion Sanders' likability, that of course depends on the person. For me, myself, it doesn't matter if I like or dislike Deion Sanders. I've got to say it's pretty much neither. He doesn't really move the needle when it comes to me, but I'm kind of a different sort, I think, when it comes to big personalities and celebrities. Like, when he has taken himself seriously and been asked serious questions and talked about serious topics. I'm not talking about life and death topics, but just talked about his background, talked about what he believes in, and those sorts of things. I have taken Deion Sanders seriously, and he sounds like a well thought person, a thoughtful person. And I've been impressed at times. Just in terms of the Deion character, and I'm not saying he puts on an act. That could fully be him being authentic, but it seems like an act when he is in that type of environment or taking hold of the spotlight. He tends to make it about himself, which kind of annoys me when it all depends. Like if I see him on the NFL Combine that's broadcast by the NFL Network, there are times, that's kind of a slow moving, methodical kind of event. You need some personality added to it. And of course, he's lived it. He's gone through the NFL Combine. I want to hear from him. So, and I want a TV show to a certain extent. I'm a nuts and bolts football guy. I definitely am, more so than probably your average viewer. So I can do without the bells and whistles, but I do want some personality. I do want some humor. But at the expense of the broadcast and the expense of the athletes that are actually being tested, sometimes that gets annoying. There was a show that he used to do with another former player. I can't remember who. And this was on the NFL Network, and they would review all the NFL games maybe later on Sunday or on Monday. And for some reason, I got into the habit of catching that for several weeks. And I wasn't real enamored with the analysis. Didn't really get a lot out of that. But yeah, he's a personality. And every contender for this job or any major job is going to have strengths and weaknesses. And the key to great leadership is to understand what you're incapable of or where your limitations are from a knowledge and skill standpoint, and hire those people that can address those areas. And one of the great skill sets of any leader is to hire correctly, accurately, effectively. That's a huge skill set of a leader, is to be able to pinpoint a great staff, people to surround yourself with. What I would love to see in the chat is for primarily Nebraska fans. I want to hear from Nebraska fans, but of course I don't know who's a Nebraska fan and who is not, so anyone can chime in. I would love to know whether, number one, Deion Sanders is a quality hire or not. Are you more on the Deion Sanders is a quality hire, or more so that he's too much of a risk? I don't believe that it's a good hire. So Deion, yes, or Deion, no. So if you could leave that in the live chat, I would be interested to see how many would favor the Deion hire versus go against the Deion hire. I'm going to leave the live chat link in the live chat again. You can join the show. And I also have another question, but I want to see us filter through as many Deion's yes and no, favorable or unfavorable. And I'm going to count those up as best I can. And then I've got a second Nebraska coaching question for you. Okay, so Deion, yes or no? And I think we'll post this to the community page on the Nebraska channel as well. So we've got Deion, yes, home run higher. That's 2-zip, 3-zip, 4-zip, 5-zip, 6. Well, boom or bust. That's kind of why I'm asking the question. We know it's boom or bust. 6-zip, 6-1, 7-1, 7. Well, again, didn't answer the question. Anyway, 8-1, 9-1. 9, 10 1, 11 1, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 for DEION, 17, 17 2, 18, 19, 20, 21, 21 3, 21 3. Of course, nobody knows yet. That's 21 4. Yes, we will start a poll. We will have a poll where we will post that on the community page. 21 5, 22 5, 22 6 7, 23 7, 23 8. We're standing at 24 to 8. 24 8 in favor of DEION. Okay, second question would be, who would be your reasonable selection as the next head coach in Nebraska? If you could have anyone reasonable. Okay, Bill Belichick is not coming to Nebraska. So anyone that I'm going to leave it up to you, is a reasonable hire, who would be your first choice as the next head coach in Nebraska? We've got Luke Fickell. We've got Matt Rule. Lance Leipold, Luke Fickell, John Gruden, unless that's Jay Gruden, John Gruden, and I lost track of it, Matt Rule or Dave Aranda, Lane Kiffin, Bob Stoops, Chris Kleiman, another John Gruden, Urban Meyer, Deion Sanders, Dan Campbell at Nebraska, Brian Hartline, Zach Taylor, LOL, Mark Stoops, Dave Aranda, and another Urban Meyer, Lane Kiffin. Okay, we're going to run those two polls on the community channel, and we appreciate everybody that takes part in those. Typically, we get about 1,000 responses. We would love to get more here at the Voice of College Football. So we're going to post that to the Nebraska channel. First and foremost, is Deion Sanders a quality hire at Nebraska? That is going to be the first poll that goes out. Then we'll follow that up with your first choice as the next Nebraska head coach. All right, one more time. If anyone wants to join the show, please do. We are leaving the link in the chat one more time. Keep in mind that we've got a West Virginia show coming your way at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's going to be here on the main channel and also on our West Virginia channel. And then we've got, I believe we'll do a brief call-in show tonight. And then you guys know what the deal is on Saturday. We've got post-game shows all over the place. Here on the Nebraska channel, post-game following Nebraska's game against Michigan. And on the Michigan channel, we've got post-game as well on the Michigan channel with our guy Dre. So he will take your calls and questions there on the Michigan channel. But again, Jake is on the Nebraska channel after the game. I'll be live throughout the day on the main channel. And you can also catch me late night after the primetime games at 11:30 Eastern time. All right, folks, we appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. And again, Deion Sanders to Nebraska, could it be? We shall see if the rumor/report is valid. Thanks for joining us here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time on the main channel, West Virginia Live, followed by a call-in show with you. See you all day Saturday right here at the Voice of College Football. Enjoy Nebraska and Michigan